Welcome. This is the podcast by Wake the Farm Up called Maintaining Ground. And I am your host, Andy the Elf. In this podcast experiment, I'll be talking with old friends, new friends, and a whole variety of people who are very inspiring, intriguing, and have their own opinion about the world to share and incredible stories. So I hope you enjoy this experiment. What the farm are you talking about? So here we go. Wake the farm up! Welcome!
Hey Andy, how you doing, buddy?
So today we have Ryan Nolan and I are going to have a interesting conversation. I can tell already just from getting in the room together here with him. So that's a big part of what this show here is. With Wake the Farm Up, we're maintaining ground here. So let's see what happens. So Weez, or Ryan Nolan, and I go way back. Probably known each other since we were 7 years old.
Sounds about right.
Boy, time flies as the crow flies. We weren't hanging out a whole lot together around 17, 18. I think we maybe went on a mad scientist caving trip or something, but a few adventures like that here and there. But I never did ask you why people call you Weez.
Weez? What, the actual farm?
Yeah, I think you're right. At some point after grade school, you and I kind of parted ways and went on about our high school lives and then reconvened later. But yeah, I don't know. That story kind of goes back to 95 or 96. We were killing time on a Friday or Saturday afternoon. And I don't remember if you remember Cincinnati Sports. Do you remember that place? It was a sporting goods store. It was like Dick's Sporting Goods, but centric to Cincinnati.
Okay.
Anyway, we had several friends that worked there, so they would always show up with heavily discounted sporting goods. And on this occasion, we had access to a small arsenal.
Wait, you had axes?
Access.
Okay, access. I thought you were like, oh, okay, we had axes and like we were like attacking each other and it was fun.
No looting, no pillaging. But the story, we get close to looting and pillaging.
I bet.
So yeah, we had access to a small arsenal of the finest paintball guns Cincinnati Sports had to offer in 1995 or 1996.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and like I said, we were all killing time, waiting to go to a party, and me and another buddy decided to leave and run a couple errands before we met back up to this party. And as we were driving, the buddy that I was riding with loaded up a paintball gun, was sitting shotgun, and as we were coming upon stop signs and deer crossing signs, he would just do as a 17-year-old boy would do, and he would shoot the paintball guns at the stop signs.
Great Scott!
Indeed. So we were in a subdivision because that's where we were driving from, and we came to a stop sign. My buddy shot the stop sign, and then out of nowhere, almost prompted, this guy, this rough fellow in a lifted pickup truck, like turns on his car and then just starts chasing us. So we're afraid. We're not sure what's going down. So me being the driver, I quickly accelerate trying to get away from this guy, and he's chasing us back through the subdivision, turn after turn, and after a handful of turns, I find myself in a dead end, and he parks in a way that we can't escape. And I look to the guy next to me, I say, "We's in trouble, Weezy." And that's that, man. That's how the nickname started.
Wow, I had no idea. Of course, I started contemplating like maybe you inhaled something that made you wheeze and it was funny. Maybe you were, on a camping trip and you're going up a hill and you started wheezing, or you were really into that band Weezer. I feel like I remember seeing you wear a Weezer shirt once.
I've never had a Weezer shirt, but I did have many sweaters, which, if you recall, was their biggest hit, the sweater song. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I think I have seen you in a sweater.
You've seen me in a sweater, I would imagine.
You look good in a sweater.
Thanks, man. I do feel like I can pull off a sweater better than the common man. So
tell me about this guy. What did he look like? Did he have a sweater on?
The guy that was chasing us?
Yeah.
I don't actually remember. I've kind of blocked that traumatic memory out of my mind. I know that he got out of the truck and he was approaching us pretty aggressively with his hands waving. He's screaming at us. I don't know, man. I'm going to say, just to generalize, he probably had like a dirty t-shirt on. It probably said like Molly Hatchet, probably long sideburns.
Wait, what's Molly Hatchet? Can you tell me, is that one of
Charlie Manson?
Yeah, is that one of Charlie Manson's followers?
Molly Hatchet? No. Molly Hatchet was a 70s rock band. Think like Skynyrd and oh my goodness. Maybe. I mean, he may have nicknamed one of his followers Molly Hatchet, but no, it was a rock band, man.
Yeah, if he wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, but Chuck could do what he wanted. He was Charlie Manson.
Yeah. So were you afraid of this guy? How did you get out of this situation? Did you pelt him with paintballs?
The resolution is a fuzzy memory. I don't recall. No, I think he just got out and yelled at us, made it clear that we shouldn't be doing such dubious things, and then he got in his car and left, and we got in our car and left.
Wow.
There were no fists exchanged or anything like that.
So you didn't have to use the axes. That's good. Yeah. Well, now when I hear Weez, it's like more inclusive of a group, like Weez doing something, as opposed to like having a lung problem.
Yeah, I don't have a lung problem. My lungs are pretty good.
Yeah. Weez feeling fine.
This morning, Weez feeling fine. That is accurate.
Yeah, dude, you're helping me out with my logistics here.
Excellent.
Back when we were, youngsters, there was a famous baseball player named Nolan Ryan. And I was always envious of you, man, that you had a famous baseball player's name backwards.
Yeah, you should be. It got me a lot of benefits and privileges in life. It's been amazing.
Like, what kind of things is that? Like, what kind of benefits have you had from that?
As a conversation starter, I did get briefly access to a 97 Dodge Dart to drive around town for a week. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
Just solely based on my name.
Wow.
Women, I'll tell you what, are certainly impressed by it, especially those of a certain age group. The 65 to 75-year-old age group. It really works with them.
Yeah, so speaking of sports, what'd you think of the Super Bowl the other day? Being from Cincinnati, I bet you were pretty excited that the Bengals were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man, it was unreal. 33 years it took them to get there. Last time they were there, I was 10 years old. So it was a long time coming. Not the way I thought the game would end up, but, overall it was competitive. I thought it was a good game.
I've always appreciated how much people love football, but I'll be honest, the last time I watched a football game was when the Bengals were playing it in the Super Bowl against the 49ers, and it was Boomer Esiason and Ickey Woods. He did his little dance.
That was the last time you watched a football game?
All the way from beginning to end, yeah.
Last night's the exception? You did that or no?
Last night was the exception. I did that.
Excellent.
It was a very fascinating game to watch.
How did it feel? Did your body, was it like riding a bike?
Like a bucking
Well,
donkey.
I don't know. I'm kind of a little dissident, so I was on this theory that being the year of the tiger in China, that
Yeah, good point.
there was some sort of ploy happening to get the Bengals in there, and
You're a conspiracy theorist.
Wake the farm up.
well, I'm an entertainer of conspiracy theories, but
As am I.
I enjoy all of them. Like whether or not they affect my daily life, it doesn't usually matter too much. Like, the whole flat earth or round earth thing, to me, I'm not working in space physics work. I'm not like flying rocket ships to the moon or anything. I'm more just working on the ground, on the earth, and just happy whether it's flat or round. It doesn't matter. But it's
Do you
fun.
have an opinion on the matter?
I think we're on the back of a giant turtle. I think that's just as fascinating and just as possible. So why not?
Anything's plausible.
What?
But yeah, back to this sports event thing. Something I found really fascinating about the Super Bowl is this guy. What's the quarterback from Bengals? Burrows.
Joe Burrow, yeah.
Joe Burrows, right? I heard he's
25. We looked it up last night. 25.
I was doing the math on it, and somebody said he's from Athens, Ohio, and 25 years ago, I was in Athens, Ohio.
Should we be thinking paternity test here?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, funny, that could be my son.
And if that's the case, I think you're entitled to at least like a sit down meet and greet and maybe get yourself some bling.
I want at least like a jersey, right? And like, I mean, with a last name like Burrow, I mean, that's like something that should be on my land. I should have a few little burrows, right?
Swell,
Isn't like
yeah.
a burrow, like
Swell, yeah.
something rabbits hop out of.
I believe that's correct. The briar patch, the burrow, and the briar patch, right?
The other boroughs, like New York City has 5 boroughs.
Is that it? 5 boroughs?
Yeah.
Can you name them?
Brooklyn,
Little
Queens,
Joey, Queens,
Manhattan,
the Bronx.
Bronx.
The Bronx, baby. The Bronx. It sounds like something you get after a night of indiscretion when you're 25 years old like Joe Burrow.
Yep. Okay.
Come home with a case of the Bronx. It's not good.
Oh man, can you get vaccinated for that?
I don't know. I suppose you could. I think it's more of an ointment or a cream scenario, though. Maybe a pill.
Wow.
Doc, I got a touch of the Bronx. What do you got for me? 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be a cream.
Yeah. As we're speaking, as the crow flies.
As the crow flies. Can I digress for a minute?
Yeah.
I don't feel like we ever covered the 5. I don't think we got the last borough of New York.
Oh, Staten Island or something.
Staten Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it. All right, so back to whatever we were just talking about.
That's where all the immigrants came through, right?
No, I think it was Ellis Island, which I think is also not true. I think it's called like Freedom Island. Ellis Island is where the Statue of Liberty is on. I think it's one of those like just long-held false.
Yeah, I don't know. I
arena.
might edit this part out. This is ridiculous.
I don't think you should cut any of this.
All right. Well, so that's enough about sports for now.
Touchdown!
What do you? Hey, here's one for you. So, you are involved in logistics.
Logistics.
So whenever I think of logistics and as that being a line of work, I think of coordinating truck routes and where things come and go and how they get there and what the protocols are for that. What do you think about these current shutdowns on highways on borders between the U.S. and Canada?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. All over some vaccines.
Yeah,
or lack thereof.
Yeah, or the choice on having that or not having that. It's pretty fascinating.
It is fascinating.
What the fuck?
There is a certain extent where people should have a choice on these matters.
I think so, and I mean, if you watch the Supreme Court, they struck down the mandate to have any employer with more than 1,000 employees to be mandating their employees get vaccines. So I think from that standpoint, to some degree, someone agrees. There's got to be some willingness or some choice here. It just can't be mandated. I'm sure there's a big subsect of the society that would be great with going on a mandate.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's Valentine's Day, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I'd go on a mandate with you.
I think that's what we're doing right now.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, you did get dressed up for me. Thanks, man.
I did just take a nice shower.
And the bow tie was a nice touch. I was not prepared for that.
How often do you use a chainsaw?
Not often enough. A couple years back, we had a tornado rip through our neighborhood, and no significant damage, but there was a lot of downed trees and downed debris. I went out into my garage because I do have a chainsaw, and then I went to, check the bar oil, put some gas in it, make sure everything was in good working order. I went to pull the chain to start it, and it would not start. So.
Oh yeah, so you went back inside.
Logistics.
Pretty much, just called it a day. I looked in the refrigerator, got a beer, and pounded that and took a nap. But why do you ask about the chainsaw? When was the last time you used the chainsaw?
I guess I just used a chainsaw all day today. I was out on a tree farm in northern Kentucky that I've been working with for the last 10 years now. So doing things like limbing the trees and getting vines out of them. They're all in little rows. They were planted by a tree planter 30 years ago.
You know Bro Jogan?
Bro Jogan. So yeah, Bro Jogan and Spiel Tongue was like, so Spiel Tongue doesn't think that Bro Jogan should be on Platanai.
Plot and I, yeah.
What's that donkey braying? Is that what you're saying? Like Plot and I should take him off? I don't understand that. A spiel tongue is been around a while and has gotten a little mold.
Get off my lawn!
Good point.
Yeah.
But you've knocked up one or two in your day, right? A cow?
I've not lived with cows. I've lived with goats, chickens, horses, donkey. The donkeys came in the house before. I don't let any animals in the house. It's my human habitat here. So, Ryan, you have a band that you currently still play with?
Correct, yes.
Tell me about your band. What are you guys called?
We are called Fat and Muddy.
Fat and Muddy. Like fat.
Yes.
Fatty goo balls.
Why not start and end on a chorus and let the verse be the filler in between?
The sandwich inside, yeah.
Yeah, a musical sandwich, man.
I like it.
It needs more bridges.
I'm very open when it comes to music. There's not a certain type of music I don't like. I think there's a artist or musician of just about any style that you could come up with, or even that hasn't been come up with yet, that I would enjoy.
Give me a polka.
As it should, man. Every day should have a little bit of 90s nostalgia.
Partially because one of my ambitions in this is to share with the youth a little bit every time about what life was like before the internet.
Oh, dude, I remember those days well. I mean, absolutely. We spent a large portion of our life alive before the internet came about.
Yeah, one of the biggest disappointments of the internet. Do you remember that movie? Of course you do. Back to the Future, right?
1, 2, or 3.
All of them. Do you remember
Yeah.
the hoverboard? I remember it was a rumor in the 90s that those were real, that they just haven't released them yet because they're not totally safe enough yet. I looked that up on the internet, and the internet told me that was a myth that went around in the 90s.
true.
We used to have myths that went around.
Yeah, you couldn't debunk them, and now you can't. You know how hard it is to get a bullshit myth started these days? Believed or what is true, you gotta kind of guard what you think, because everyone's looking to get the guy that doesn't think the same way they think.
I don't think so.
Virtual reality thing, it's another one of these things. It's interesting, but in some regards, I like hiking out in the forest, and if there's 40,000 people that are inside their little houses hiking in virtual reality worlds, that makes a lot more space for me out in the actual reality.
Yes, selfishly, you're embracing virtual reality.
Yeah, and when I'm about 90 years old and they've mastered it and it's really good,
then you'll come out of your shell and kick the tires on it?
I will put one on and I will go into an avatar of a young man and I will go and have a great time until whatever happens.
You know what's pretty mind-blowing?
Tell me.
Reality. What do you need virtual reality for?
Yeah, when actual reality, I think people are afraid of ARs. Actual reality.
Fear not, man. It surrounds you. Fear not, man. It surrounds you. I love it. It's not for the faint of heart.
I mean, I would love to embrace it every day, and I try to.
You do.
You do too.
I do. I'm not a virtual reality guy.
If you listeners out there are really into virtual reality, be my guest, go for it. And hopefully in your virtual world, you'll be able to listen to me and Ryan having our adventures.
In the AR. Yeah. What did you think of Tina Turner in Mad Max?
I must be dreaming.
I thought
Tina
she was
Turner,
great.
right?
Yeah, I thought she was great. I mean, everything about Mad Max.
Especially Tina Turner.
I feel that I've almost perceived a sort of post-apocalyptic fantasy ever since I was a child. Some sort
You've
of.
had that fantasy, or you feel like it's been realized and you're living in it?
I feel like I've had that fantasy, and I feel like there's aspects of it that we've lived through. But yeah, I don't know. There's some sort of fantasy in the post-apocalyptic theme.
I don't know. I mean, we're still in the COVID times. I would say we're not too far off from that.
Yeah, there's pre-pandemic kids, you know, which are people born before pandemic, and then there'll be post-pandemic kids. It's kind of like the internet world, you know, there's pre-internet kids and there's post-internet kids. There's always going to be these before and after kind of effects and these big shifts that happen in the world.
What?
And how we think and feel and approach our realities.
Yeah, that's a big question. My thought on that is, coming out of World War II, I think this is what started the boomers. All the soldiers came home from war, they fell in love, met women, fell in love, had babies, and that generation was called the boomers, right?
Boom.
Baby boomers?
Yep.
What cool, clever nickname are they gonna give all these COVID kids?
What the fuck?
There's gonna be some kind of they're gonna be named soon. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, there probably already is. They're just starting to find their way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this was a huge. I think this was a kind of a huge reset for a lot of people. COVID, kind of locking down, being locked in and shut off from the rest of the world. I think it did a lot of weird things.
So I definitely, I guess, you know, talking about feeling as if it's been like all this, like this fantasy of mine. So that's kind of what got me into permaculture as a young man. 18, 19 is when I first discovered it. Just like finding that reality and that freedom and that strength and learning how to create my own food, create my own sustenance, create my own fuel, create my own life, my own living, and not be dependent on something that's as fragile as
a supply chain.
Wake the farm up.
Yep.
Exactly.
No, that's a compelling argument, man.
Can you start a fire with like some rocks and a chunk of metal, or can you start a fire with, you know, your hands and some sticks?
And some intuition, yes, and know-how.
So it's I've made cordage with dried nettle plants. And
so are you totally self-sufficient at this point? You could do it.
something I'd really like to see, and I've been trying to research what developments there are, is harvesting the electric from a tree. I mean, all life has electric. Like every leaf on a tree is a solar panel. It's collecting sunlight and turning it into energy.
Yeah. Then you gotta be able to harness that energy from the tree to the car.
Well, that's where my fantasies of this post-apocalyptic existence comes in, where that's my answer, is like everybody's not able to drive cars anymore. Everything slows down into a different pace. And
which would be a good thing. Honestly, I think it'd be a good thing.
it could be a really good thing. But in the meantime, I don't want to be just like isolated somewhere, and if I want to go to town, I have to walk for 3 hours. I have kids. I need to go and pick them up from school. And
Yeah, it's gotta be practical.
all kinds of that stuff. So there's definitely like a balance and existence here. I don't feel that I need to be super extreme about everything. I support people who are, though.
No, but I think getting back to the total self-sufficient, there is a certain level of unease that comes with knowing that you're totally dependent on something else, whether it's a gas station or a grocery store or something, just to make sure that you can keep the basic functions of life going. That's not a very good feeling. And I think that's where most of humanity is.
I mean, if everything shut down, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was pretty relaxed, honestly. And I think that it was probably one of the best years I've had of my life in a lot of ways. We all saw these signs that the world was going in a certain way and that something would happen. I always knew something would happen, and I still know something else is going to happen. I talk to my kids about something might happen in a way that I want them to be mentally prepared and not totally caught off guard. I want them to live a childhood. I want them to know how to screw a screwdriver, to build something, to know how things work, know what's inside the walls.
Yep, absolutely. Those are basic skills that are lost. I think the more tools you can give a kid to succeed on any level or any topic, no matter how surface the knowledge is, give them knowledge to succeed. Because yes, I think it's pretty. I admire your ability to make your own way. So wake the farm up. Where did that come from?
Wake the Farm Up, that name actually came from a freestyle session.
Of course it did. I like that.
And it just was so funny, and it totally fit what I do that I just latched onto it and cruised with it. It definitely is like an overarching name that covers all the different elements of what I do and provide and share with this world. It even adds in that bit of humor.
You're a funny guy, man. I like bantering back and forth with you. I was looking forward to this because I didn't know what the format would be or what the agenda was going to be, and I didn't want to be the one to bring it up. So I'm glad you didn't bring it up. But that was the one thought I had was like, who's going to be the straight man? I think we both are.
Perfect. That was a good laugh right there.
You can look at it that way.
All right, tell us one more really interesting thing about you and your life. You know,
I run.
You run.
I run.
Better.
Like, where do you run? Like, you run from, like, somebody's chasing you, or are you chasing somebody?
Either one would apply. If I'm being chased, or if I'm doing the chasing, that certainly would work. But it's usually just starting from a point, setting a predetermined amount of distance, and then making sure I end up back at that same point.
Okay. I remember running with you recently. We were about 5 miles from our camp. We were on a cliff looking at the Ohio River.
That was a fantastic afternoon.
It was an amazing adventure, but it was about to get dark, and we needed to run back to camp as fast as we could before our friends ate all our food.
But before they ate our food, but more importantly, before it got dark, because none of us thought that the hike would last that long, so we didn't have headlamps or flashlights.
Yeah, we had to go up some pretty steep hills.
Yeah. Plus, you're right, though. We were worried they were going to eat our food.
Yeah, that was a big part for me.
Yeah, because we had worked up a lot. We burned a lot of calories. We needed that nutrition, but we knew who was back at camp, and they were going to eat our food. I was confident of it.
I know I had some fish that I was planning to cook up with that lion's mane mushroom that I found on that tree.
Foraging, yeah.
Yeah, you found 2 of them. You shimmied up the tree like a bear, wielding a pocket knife, and you harvested some of the lion's mane. Brought it back to camp, and then you cooked that. That was very delicious.
Do you remember that one? I was climbing up the tree, and you guys were all yelling at me that I wasn't going to be able to get it, and I was trying so hard, and then I just jumped down and grabbed a long stick and knocked it down.
Yeah, man, you used your, you embraced your inner.
That was my hominoid brain.
Exactly. You figured out how to put tools to work for your own benefit. It tasted like, I don't know, it tasted like chicken noodle soup kind of. It was delicious.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah. And it was also very chewy. Well, no, it was like, it was kind of like al dente pasta, wouldn't you say?
I can see that, yeah.
Lion's mane mushroom.
You were talking earlier about everybody they were taunting you, saying you wouldn't be able to reach up to the top to get that mushroom. But what they were doing was warning you that you were going to fall and break your back, and we'd have to hike you out of the woods.
Oh, yeah. Taunting, warning kind of goes tandem with good friends out in the forest.
They both go hand in hand. You can taunt and warn somebody at the same time. And that's the best thing about it.
I like that.
Yep.
And that lion's mane, that one was like a full-size beard, like this.
It's elf life.
Yeah. Those mushrooms are getting a lot of attention these days in the world of foodies because of their medicinal value. They're showing that they help reconnect neurons in our brains, which is one of those things that'll be good to keep eating well into our 90s.
Yeah, and when I was out camping with you and we were preparing those mushrooms, you said not to eat raw mushrooms. I had never heard that because I love mushrooms. I like to eat them raw. Why in the world can't I eat those things raw?
Well, mushrooms in general that are raw are really hard on our livers. And if you're eating mushrooms every day that are raw, you can wipe out your liver pretty quickly.
Is it more or less rapid than bourbon?
You what?
Probably more rapid.
Really? Than drinking, like boozing every day?
Yeah, like if you were eating mushrooms every day for like a couple months, you could potentially like hit your liver really hard, like you're wanting to go to the hospital and get it checked out. where
So your medical
you can
advice
drink,
to me is drink bourbon every single day?
well,
to
you
stay
can
healthy?
drink bourbon every single day and not have a problem for several years.
Yeah, that's the way I'm going. I'm gonna fend off and ward off mushrooms and just embrace distilled liquor.
Well, speaking of artists again, do you know what an artist conch is?
Is it a shell?
It's a type of mushroom.
Oh.
They
no.
grow on black locust trees, and they're called that because often artists will break them off and they'll do a little painting on it, right?
Off the mushroom?
They'll paint on the mushroom, and the mushroom, will stay good like a chunk of wood for like years. It won't like mush up or anything. So
it's a nice canvas for painting.
right, and it's really hard. It's a hard mushroom, but that mushroom has a medicinal property that has been shown to ease esophagus cancer and prevent it. And it's been through clinical studies. Yeah, that one specific mushroom is very fascinating. You can find it in the forests around here in the Midwest on black locust trees, and I like to put some of these mushrooms that are hard like that you can't just like bite into soup stock and cook it, like bone broth. Bone broth's really popular right now, where you boil the bones and all those nutrients and properties come out. You can do that with a lot of these mushrooms too. So you don't necessarily have to bite into it and chew it. You can hot water bath, extract all those nutrients.
Wake the farm up.
Honestly, that's an ultimate goal of this podcast here too, is to remind people of the nature preserved within them.
Yeah, we're just a big ecosystem.
Yeah. And it's funny.
It's laughable. It's downright laughable.
This whole experience.
Again, it's AR.
Mushrooms are so fun in AR.
They suspend AR or enhance it.
It's something I think it'd be kind of cool to get into branding, like actual branding, like where you make little irons that you heat up and then you like burn them into things.
You want to brand people with Wake the Farm Up brands? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think people like being branded. I mean, how many tattoos do you have?
Just the one, regrettably. But I can tell you, my life's ambition is never to be branded.
Tell us about your tattoo. What did you choose to be tattooed with?
Oh man! After giving a lot of hard thought at the age of 18 and a day, I went out and picked out a sun, had it tattooed on my shoulder.
Aw.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not the best tattoo ever. It's not the worst.
What a dork.
The benefit of hindsight, I wouldn't have done it again.
I've not had a tattoo, but I've always thought it'd be cool to have a ruler put on my arm.
So you can measure things?
I can like measure stuff, or like put a leaf next to it, take a picture of it, and like
you're out at the local pay pond and you get a bass. You want to pull it out of the lake and see how long it is.
Yeah, you can be like, this is actual reality, folks. This fish actually is 2 feet long.
Well, your forearm's not 2 feet long, so there's some problems with this, but we can work out the details later.
Well, I could chop it in half.
You could. I think it boils down to when life gives you lemons, you do that thing with it.
What do you do with lemons?
You process them into lemonade.
That's what I wanted to hear you say. You did it. I have heard, like years ago, that was a conspiracy. I remember finding very amusing that they were going to microchip all the fish.
What the farm?
For what purpose?
So that if you're fishing and you don't have a license and you take it, they can catch you.
Wow, that's some serious consequence. That's a lot of effort to catch some fishermen.
Yeah, can you imagine like
no,
how much effort they would go through to make sure every fish has a microchip in it?
That's a lot, because I don't know how many fish are in a brood, but I bet it's a big number.
I have heard that they've have robots now that can replicate themselves.
That's scary, like Boston Dynamics.
They're like the size of one-celled organisms.
That's still some weird, scary shit.
90s nostalgia.
It's like Terminator. You're talking about 90s nostalgia. It's like Terminator's coming to life right before our eyes.
It really is, but from a biological perspective, biological life will outlive any sort of mechanical robotic life. So even if like 500 years from now it's total robot world, 500,000 years from now, the robots will run out of materials and things that they need to survive, but there will be some sort of biology, some sort of microbial or bacteria lurking in the shadows somewhere waiting for their opportunity to regrow and turn into a new evolved form on the planet.
But what about like nuclear holocaust, where there's anything that can support living life of any kind is no longer available? Say the atmosphere is nothing but nitrogen, and the oceans are.
There are certain bacterias and one-celled organisms that they have shown can withstand nuclear radiation. So I do think that biology will continue and be fine.
Past the artificial life that we're going to create.
Yeah, last year they found bacteria in cores of the ocean floor that they took, and the bacteria they found were, I think they said 100 million years old. And when they pulled them out from being in this dormant state, they started to activate and come to life and replicate again.
They gave them mouth to mouth, and these 10,000-year-old bacteria are kicking it.
Yeah, they're just like, wow, what happened up here?
That's a very bizarre story, man. A little bit of bacteria mouth to mouth, and they're back up and they're up and running. They're open for business.
Yep. So it's kind of like this podcast. We'll see where this thing goes, but right now it's like a little one-celled organism starting to replicate.
I wish you all the best in your replication of cells, man.
Thanks a lot for being here with us today, and I hope the listeners have enjoyed this conversation as much as we have.
There's no way that's possible. You will listen to this podcast.
No, people love listening to podcasts like in car rides now, and I totally get it. Like, there's not that much new creative music coming out. There is. We explored that the other day recently, but I don't know. There's just something about listening to podcasts that people are really fascinated while they're working, driving, doing anything that allows their mind to digest and take in information.
Well, I think humans are social people. So even when you're at your job and you're not able to socialize to any large degree because you're trying to get work done, you can listen to other people socialize. So it's like the next best thing as opposed to actively being involved in a conversation.
Yeah, it helps you formulate your opinion by hearing other people's opinions and their takes on the world, where they came from, what they experienced a little bit, just little slices of life.
That's it, man. Pick up the little slices of life.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, no problem.
Who knows what'll happen next? I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy where this podcast is going. I look forward to the next conversations. Could be anything. Could go anywhere.